Hi, just another little video following up on some of the recent thoughts I've been having. Got my little hammer, renovationist Christian. I guess I came up with that for Palm Sunday, or a couple days before Palm Sunday 2024, that idea. Watching a video on YouTube, Apologetics Roadshow, where a guy was defending the resurrection of Jesus as being something that's historically certain, or, I don't know what. And, quoting other scholars and making various arguments about why it must be true. I've been down this road before. I've thought a lot about the possibility of the resurrection being a true story. It's not. It's because there's abundant evidence in the way this world actually is through the laws of physics and the laws of biology. So we just know it's not true. He objected to that, the article, this video. He was like, you have an automatic, you're automatically against it from the onset, so you won't look at the evidence. Now I have looked at the evidence. I've been thinking about this for my entire life. And I have ultimately rejected it. And so I'm not going to go through the evidence, because this is why. To go through the evidence for it is hard. It takes time. And I think that's a complete waste. To be honest with you, I see this as a trick of a lot of cultish style leaders. You want to become a Muslim? Read the Quran. You start reading the Quran, you're confused about something in the Quran. And the next thing you know, he says, well, the only way you can understand it is to learn it in the original Arabic. Well, if I actually went through what was necessary to learn it in the original Arabic, I might as well just be a Muslim, right? Because I'd have to know so much. Everyone's doing it. The Catholics are doing it. They're like, the Latin Mass is back. You have to learn everything in Latin. I was watching a Jewish rabbi says, if you truly want to understand the Torah, you have to learn Hebrew. It's like, yeah. So if I did everything I needed to do and actually to truly understand the Torah, I'd be a practicing Jew for 30 years. It's like, so like, I dismiss out of hand, because to study the historical evidence of the resurrection cast a shadow on your life. You could have been doing something else. You could have been studying mathematics. You could have been studying, physics. You could have been studying biology. You could have been studying anatomy so that you could become a doctor. It may be better choices for the use of your mental faculties. Now, everyone has their niche, and I get that. And there's plenty, there's one guy that this apologist was, citing. He unequivocally doesn't believe in the resurrection. This Bart Ehrman guy, but he cites him as evidence for the fact that somebody who's been looking at this puzzle all his life knows that there's some historical truth to the idea. Well, I just think the biggest counter argument that you can come up with against the truth of the resurrection is the fact that it would have been a brilliant, countermeasure to the Roman occupation to come up with this fantastic story, or this fantastic, counterintelligence, dodge to try to blow everyone's mind and come up. Well, anyway, I've written about that and other times before. I don't really want to get bogged down in talking about, that obvious possibility, which, kind of makes it hard. Well, I've taught otherwhere. My teaching is, what I believe is, you should practice the religion of your mother, unless you have a good reason to do otherwise. I think it is worth your time learning the apologetics and the arguments in favor of any of the old models of understanding the world. If your parents are Islamic, you should definitely do your shahada. You should definitely study your Quran, memorize the words that you have to memorize, all that stuff, because it's demonstrable that Islam provides a viable way of life to the adherents of it. And the same is obviously true with Roman Catholics, and the same is obviously true with Judaism. And so, to learn apologetics for the religion of your people is an act of loyalty. And I'm totally in favor of the ideas of, as a rule, you should be loyal. That's until you have good reasons to do otherwise. And so being loyal is definitely a good choice for any person. So so I guess that's pretty much all I want to say. Really, a point of separating loyalty from truth, is always going to be a key issue. Be completely loyal, but, maybe not so loyal that you cross certain obvious lines that shouldn't be crossed. And, only in time and in detail can you, work your mind through those scenarios. And hopefully you won't have to, because maybe the best answer to all of this religious stuff, as a rule, is to put your whole heart and your mind and what you're working on, and go for that. You know what I'm saying? Build that business, learn that profession, do the good things that you want to do with your life, and stay focused on those things, and see religion as a necessary part of life, that has to come along with it. I mean, I guess in the end, I would recommend not following the teaching of stick with your own. This is America. And I think, the more you can have relationships that cross boundaries, the better. As much as you're possibly able to have relationships that cross every boundary in the world, be friends with other religious groups, have friendships in other religious groups, marry people in other ethnic and religious groups. That seems obvious, because we're all one in this world. I mean, here's a teaching that's so obvious to me. Where all evil in the world comes from is the fact that, because of the onset of creation, the flowering of our reality, from, the entire computational process that produced us since the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago, and it's so complex and so wonderful it is to behold, that you can't, make me believe, that if God even exists, and if God's even all-knowing, he doesn't even know what we're going to do. He didn't even know, he might not even have known that we were going to come into existence, because there's so many other intelligent species out there in this universe and in parallel universes that he's looking at. And it's like, oh, look at these guys and look at those guys. And the mathematical idea of something being computationally irreducible, you can't know what's going to happen unless you play the system out. An immediate objection I hear all the time is like, well, God's outside of time. Well, I mean, I don't even know if he's there. And then you're acting as, I accept in faith that it's God there, and therefore he must have these attributes. Why can't an all-powerful God make a creation that's beyond his ability to see what it does all the way to the end, until it has played itself out, I don't know. I'm not there with God. I don't think anyone could ever know that God exists, because God, being outside of this creation, would be undetectable to our senses. We only can sense things that are inside this creation. I guess. What was I thinking of? There was another really good point I want to make. So where does evil come from? Where does evil come from in this world? And it just seems obvious that we're emerging out of a predator-prey evolutionary process. There was an argument that was made, like maybe 70,000 years ago, 60,000 years ago, Homo sapiens had this, we're prey. We had this fear response. The lions might be coming, and then we learned, pretty fast suddenly how to group up. And then once we really grouped up in big groups, then we became the most dominant thing in the world. And we never had an opportunity to lose that fear response. That, my understanding is, like, maybe lions don't have a fear response, because how does having fear help a lion to survive? It's the toughest thing around. It never loses, right? But until suddenly it's up against a whole bunch of packed up Homo sapiens, right? But anyway, where does all evil come from in the world? Well, it just seems like it comes from the misalignment of, seeing yourself as being the most important thing and nobody else is. Or, no, wait a minute, maybe it's just me and my family and nobody else is less important. Wait a minute, no, maybe it's just me and my community are the most important things, and nobody else is. Or no, maybe it's me and my nation. Or no, maybe, and then you have like this Buddhist transcendental enlightenment, and you start to see everyone as being as equally as important to you. And then immediately upon doing that, somebody else is going to be like, oh, I can take advantage of that guy because you think everyone matters. And then you come back to yourself again and say, wait a minute, only I matter. It's like, and we're in this constant struggle of and why are we in this constant struggle? Did God put us in this crucible? I don't think so. We find ourselves in this crucible. And at best, my argument would be that he's looking at this, God, he, whatever, is looking at this going, well, maybe I should put an end to this creation. Hit these guys, if I don't put a blot out the entire creation, just hit this planet with a big asteroid and put an end to it or something. You know what I mean? And he chooses not to do that. And I think it's because we don't want him to. And that's just a guess. I can't know. I'm an agnostic that chooses to accept the existence of an all-loving God. That's all. I can't know. But I make the decision to believe in an all-loving God. And there's nothing I've seen in this world around me, in this creation, that's inconsistent with that belief. Why? Because there's all this evil in the world. There was the Middle Passage. There was the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There was Auschwitz. There was the genocide in Rwanda. I mean, all these evil things that I can name. What's the cause of these evil things? It's people rightly feeling it necessary to put them in their group above other groups. Until, of course, that moment of enlightenment comes and you realize that everyone matters just as much as everyone else. And then once you have that enlightenment, you realize people start to take advantage of you, or advantage of people who've had that enlightenment, and then you come back to your senses and you go back to the basic survival instincts. It's just about me. It's about me and my family, or me and my people, my Irish people, or me and America. Oh, it's about everyone. We all love everyone. And so the cycle goes again. Until finally you get in a situation where, war happens, and it's that side just is not going to agree with you, and you're just not going to agree with them, and you can't come to terms with everything, so you fight. And so is war, a necessary condition of man? Well, apparently it is. Look at history, but it doesn't always have to be. And that's where, when you let your mind read good science fiction and think about good science fiction, and maybe we can get to the point where humanity chooses war no more. I mean, AI systems help us to do it, but then that's tyranny. Well, we have to fight them, and so it goes. But I think here we see a better model of reality. I'm always going to love the Christian model of reality. I was a Roman Catholic from birth because of my parents' choice to baptize me at a Catholic church not far away from where I'm walking at. And so I'm Roman Catholic by birth. I love my Catholic system, but I seek to renovate it. And how do I renovate it? Man, I don't have time to renovate it, but it needs to be renovated. I mean, that's a pretty powerful statement to say that I think it needs to be renovated, but I really do. And in the first place, the renovations that's required is someone should be able to think like me and still be Catholic. I'm able to say, hey, I don't believe in the resurrection. It's just not true. I can see why people believe in it. I can see why people have dedicated their whole lives to it. And I'm proud of the people that have done so, because that model, that system, is a brilliant and beautiful way to look at the world. And the truth of that system, which is, it's not true, but it conflates with people's loyalty and their survivability. So that's the reason why they love it so much, because it's connected with their feelings of loyalty for that system and their ability to survive, because they can group up with others so much easily. But it isn't actually true, because we have a better model that's built from looking at the Big Bang Theory, the computational process of chaos theory, simple underlying conditions and simple rules, flowered amazing complexity. The idea that there might be an all-powerful, all-loving God there who triggers, creation into existence and watches it play itself out, and he could be watching, she could be watching not just us in our current lives, but speculating on what's going to happen if these guys survive. They'll meet up with this other alien group, 3 million years from now on a star far away. I mean, it might be pretty interesting for that guy to look at this stuff. I mean, do we even have free will? Well, maybe we don't, but maybe we're journeying to a point where we're going to create free will. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I think it's clearly better just to assume that you have free will, even if you don't really know it. I mean, I've heard the arguments against free will, so, I mean, they have some points. But then, how did life get started on the earth? Was it some magical moment where God triggered things? And I'm just going to have to go with, we have plenty of theory building going on there from the people who are studying the evolutionary development of the species, where bacterial became multicellular, the Cambrian explosion and all that. And then you see everything we're talking about, we're looking at Big Bang, Cambrian explosion, to us having this conversation. To the extent it's a conversation, it's kind of one-sided, but all that's evidence-based. I've seen it with my own eyes, the computational process running, The Game of Life by John Conway. You look that up on the internet, cellular autonoma. I've studied that stuff in college, and and it links with, in my mind, with a book I read by Stephen Wolfram back in the 1990s. And then I'm listening to him talk on TED Talks and talking to Lex Friedman right now on podcasts. And everything's gelling together. I'm just seeing a more, evidence-based model of our reality than the one that I'm getting that includes the resurrection of Jesus. And I say it with a heavy heart in a way, because I feel like I'm being disloyal. But I'm not. I don't think Jesus would want me to do it any other way. Perfect way to end the video, If I worship the Son of Truth of truth itself, right? Then I got to go after truth. I can't blind myself, You can go ahead and believe in the resurrection way harder than I ever do. It doesn't make you a better Christian than me. Love you guys. Be good.